Whipple Family Misadventures Book 1. Welcome to the Parent of an Alien Hedgehog Club, Chapter 13. As soon as he arrived at the station, Wade left Shadow on the car to go inside. Another time he might have tried to get the hedgehog to come with him, but now it was the furthest thing from his mind. It was a bit dumb, but his heart was pounding away in his chest at what could be awaiting for him. He slipped into the back and headed for his desk. There, right in front of the keyboard, sat a box. It didn't look very big, definitely not the size of what he would expect to contain life-changing information. He approached it slowly, like it was a venomous snake that needed an eye kept on it at all times. Wade had barely picked it up when a voice startled him.
Hi, Wade.
Surprised, he turned his head towards the direction of it, only to see a smiling blue hedgehog standing on Tom's chair. Wade had been so focused he hadn't even noticed him.
Hi, Sonic. Where's your dad?
In the back.
Sonic waved one gloved hand in the direction of lockup, their lone interrogation cell, and the staff rooms that made up the rest of the tiny station.
I thought you were on vacation or something. Did you get tired of it? Well, what's that?
Wade shoved the box under his arm, almost protectively.
Just some work stuff. You know, Shadow's outside in my car. He might like to see you.
Really?
1 second, Sonic was there, and the next, the front door flew open with a hard gust of wind, letting in some of the icy weather before it banged shut once again. Looking back at the box, Wade slowly traced the outline with one finger before he started opening it. He had barely gotten the tape off when Tom came back out into the main room, shaking water off his hands.
That was fast. I didn't expect you quite so soon. Did you see where Sonic went?
I was already out running errands, and he's outside with Shadow.
That got Tom's attention and fast. He crossed the room to look out of the front windows, smiling when he saw the two boys outside.
So that's it?
Wade came up behind him, seeing that Sonic had climbed into the back seat of his car, probably to escape the cold and looked like he was just chatting up a storm. It was still strange to think that while he and Silver had spent days with Shadow, hardly anyone else has actually seen him.
I would have brought him inside, but he's still adjusting to all of this. Today was just the first time I got him out in public with me, and literally 15 minutes was all he could take.
That earned a nod from the sheriff.
Maddie mentioned what happened at the clinic, how he didn't want to come inside.
He looked at Wade sideways.
So what case needed files from Washington, D.C.?
His breath caught in his throat, the room suddenly uncomfortably warm.
To tell you the truth, this isn't about a case. It's about that Robotnik guy Shadow wanted me to find for him. I put his name into the federal database, and this is what I got. And it's old. Why they had to send it to me.
It was almost comical how impressed Tom looked.
Wow. Look at you using the perk of the job being able to get information like that. You really think it will give you the answers to where he's been and what's happened to him?
I really hope so.
Wade had hoped to read at least some of it here at the station, but quickly realized that wasn't going to be possible. He was already feeling anxious about this. He couldn't do it with anyone looking over his shoulder or asking what it said. He would have to wait until later. Tom looked back out the window to where Shadow was balanced on the very edge of the seat, nearly about to fall if he wasn't careful. He was nodding slowly to whatever Sonic was telling him.
What if it doesn't?
Wade swallowed hard.
Then we'll deal with that if and when it comes up. Anyway, I left Silver home alone, and I don't want that to be for much longer. We'll see you later.
His cargo still under one arm, he left the station. When they arrived home, walked into the house to find Silver exactly where he left him on the couch. Shadow hopped up on the couch, next to the lighter hedgehog.
Look at my new shoes.
Wade got up and walked over to his desk, setting the package down along with the new remote that needed batteries. He wasn't sure he even had when there was a gasp. He looked over to see Silver holding one of Shadow's shoes in his hands, admiring it.
Look at this!
What is it, Silver?
Silver held the shoe up above his head.
It has a wheel.
Eyes widening, Wade walked back around the couch to get a better look. Silver was right. They had gotten one of those strange skating shoes that had the wheels that could be folded into the heel of the shoe. Silver looked delighted.
I want shoes with wheels.
He handed it back to Shadow.
Have you tried it yet?
No.
Maybe not in the house.
Wade said, already thinking of how badly this could go. Both of them looked deeply disappointed, like he suggested they never even try it out.
But it's too cold outside. There's all that snow.
That was a horribly good point, and it wasn't like he could say no to the shoes now. Not to mention, it was pretty mean to Tom he could only look at this cool new thing, not be able to try it out.
Fine, but just in the kitchen.
That was a horribly good point, and it wasn't like he could say no to the shoes now. Not to mention, it was pretty mean to Tom he could only look at this cool new thing, not be able to try it out.
Silver, did you take out the trash like I asked?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Realizing he had a moment to read this without being interrupted, Wade returned to his desk and pulled the box open. Inside was an envelope, labeled on the front, Professor Gerald Robotnik. The very name sent a shiver down Wade's spine, as he remembered the last time he had contact with someone of that name. That other crazy scientist guy who tried to blow up the town, willing to do anything just to catch Sonic. Was there any relation, or just a weird coincidence? Opening the tab of the envelope, Wade pulled out the first piece of paper, a summary of everything inside. In 1968, Professor Gerald Robotnik sought out and gained permission to keep a lab and study DNA on a space colony. Initially, he claimed he was looking for a way to cure deadly sicknesses after he experienced the death of a family member due to an incurable disease. For almost 3 years, everything seemed to have been going well, until an anonymous tip was received, claiming the professor had changed the experiment, that he was experimenting with artificial life, and that he had created an artificial creature. The tip described the creature as being extremely dangerous, more so that the professor wanted this and was making plans to use it as a weapon. At that thought, Wade lifted his eyes to glance at Shadow, who was standing in front of the fridge, trying to balance on the wheels of his shoes, while Silver was eagerly giving him terrible advice on how to do it. A military team was sent into space to make a report of such findings, and if needed, deal with a dangerous creature. Upon entry, they found Professor Robotnik and his research team, but no such creature. Later reports said 2 different soldiers both said they saw a capsule ejected from the colony minutes before they accessed the lab. Upon further research, black fur was found in the lab, along with unknown DNA that didn't match anything currently found on Earth. Robotnik was arrested and brought back to Earth. Several members of his research team later confirmed that yes, several of the initial test subjects were used for the initial experiment. Most of them had died early on, a few without taking a single breath. The last one had survived, had black and red fur, and near the end of the first year, they learned it had above average human intelligence and strength. It was at least seen with the professor in the lab minutes before the team stormed the facility. The space colony was torn apart, looking for any place the creature could have been hiding within, but nothing turned up. Robotnik refused to give many details of the incident, until finally confirming that there was an experimental life form, but it was deceased. Since no creature was ever found, no charges were pressed against him. Robotnik died in 1977, and on his deathbed, stated that he knew the team coming wanted his life form and had placed it in a capsule in a state of suspended animation and ejected it into space. He said it then fell towards the planet, knowing that way they wouldn't have it, as he didn't want the government having their hands on his research. He said he spent the rest of his life looking for it. No capsule was ever recovered. In 2009, the case was closed when the last research scientist of the project passed away. 40 years after the incident, almost 30 after Robotnik's death, no creature was ever found or even reported of being seen in any type. There was some speculation that it was a ruse, but also enough evidence was found to suggest it might have actually existed. However, given the time period that passed, there was no way the creature could have survived that long. The other papers included in the envelope were recovered from Robotnik's estate after his death. Notes and other papers detailing his experiment. They didn't believe this was all of them, but as the file was sealed and closed, they wanted as much information about the mysterious creature to be sealed away with it. Wade read over the file again. 1968. Dangerous creature. Suspended animation. Died in 1977. They thought he was dead. That after being placed in suspended animation and ejected his body, that he had died in the capsule and it was lost forever. Except they had been wrong. Wade's attention was brought back to the present by a crashing sound. Looking up from the files, he saw that this mystical creature, feared by the government and had somehow escaped, creature, and thought to be dead, was currently flat on his belly on the kitchen floor.
You told me to do that on purpose.
Shadow grumbled as he hauled himself to his hands and knees.
Yo, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Sensing an argument coming, Wade stood up.
Okay, you two.
He said, getting both of their attention at once.
That's enough. Shadow, you alright?
Yes.
Realizing what time it was, he looked down at the open envelope, shoved all the papers back inside, and then tucked it under his arm, deciding that he would keep it in his room so neither of them could stumble upon it, even by accident. For now, he needed to start dinner. Several things kept jumping back out at him. The first being that this claimed the man died in the 1970s, and this experiment had taken place in the 60s. Shadow had claimed he was 14 years old, something that Wade seriously doubted. If he had to guess, he would have played Shadow around 11, maybe 12 years old. But then again, the file did talk about suspended animation, which was crazy and sounded like something straight out of a science fiction novel. Was Shadow aware of that?
Shadow?
Wade sighed casually as he put dinner into the oven.
Do you know what year it is?
The darker hedgehog thought for a moment.
I'm not sure. 1960s something.
When Wade didn't say anything, he frowned.
Is that right?
There were a few long, uncomfortable seconds where Wade had to decide between lying to him and telling him the truth. Trying not to look too worried about it, Wade glanced away and decided on the third option.
Don't worry about it.
Shadow's expression dropped.
That's not right, is it?
It's not, but that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Sometimes I remember things wrong.
And that's okay.
Are you sure?
Wade nodded.
I'm sure. Go see what Silver's doing for me, okay?
He asked gently, staring him out of the kitchen for a moment. He didn't know any of this. That the professor guy was dead, what year it was, or even all the details that happened to him. The rest of the evening passed by like it was a dream. Wade was only partially paying attention to what was going on around him, his mind constantly going back to that file. Once he got both kids into bed, he went into his own bedroom and shut the door, spreading the papers out over his bed, reading it again. It all made sense. One thing that initially had been confusing when they asked Shadow where he came from, he insisted that he had been from the ocean, which was weird and a rather strange thing to say. But this report claimed that the creature had been placed inside a capsule and ejected. Over 70% of the planet was covered in water. If the capsule had fallen towards the Earth, there was a good chance it would have landed in the ocean. that that capsule with Shadow inside, still stuck in suspended animation, had just floated around for almost half a century, lost out there in the ocean until one day somehow some people had found it and brought it to shore, popped it open, and woke him up? Wade frowned, thinking about how scared and confused he must have been when he woke up, alone and lost on a strange planet. All these strange humans, all bigger than him. And he was so introverted and shy as it was. Shadow said he had tried to ask for help, but when he did, they all reacted badly, and so he thought humans couldn't be trusted. One thing was for sure, unless there was something in here that he was missing, the creature described in the report was Shadow. Unlike Sonic and Silver, he hadn't come from another planet. He had been part of some crazy science experiment from the 60s before being frozen in time for decades. Wade winced, already dreading that he would have to tell all of this to him. Shadow hadn't forgotten his request to find Robotnik, and he deserved to know the truth about what happened. It would just be a very difficult conversation, one that Wade had no idea how he was going to react to. Suddenly, an idea struck. Picking up his cell phone, Wade made a call.
Hey Tom, sorry. Hope this isn't too late to call. Can I ask for a small favor? I'm going to need some time to talk to Shadow, and I think it would be better if Silver wasn't around when I did it.
He paused, listening for a few moments.
That's what I was hoping for.